this shit isn't for everyone.
Yeah.
This is very, very hard. You have got to have a certain level of resilience and grit. But if you think you've had that, or you've got that, or been exposed to situations like this before, then absolutely do it, but make sure you've got the financial runway. That's the disclaimer. You need to be able to cover your arse for a bit, because you will have rocky months for the first 6, 12, 36.
Chris James, welcome to the HoLT Survival Guide for Small Businesses. I feel weird because I'm going like all serious presenter mode with you, and we're very rarely serious together. And probably should warn people listening that if you're in the car with your kids, he's got a potty mouth. So let's just trigger warning there. Or
Not your son, me.
Swear warning. Yeah. My son's listened to you on a podcast before that I was listening to in the car.
All right. How was it?
I had to turn it off because he complained about the swearing.
Shit. I mean.
So before we really get into things, tell us a little bit about what you do.
I help people make money by putting together an offer and packaging their expertise, market themselves using organic content, and then generate leads, win clients, and deliver successful results to those clients.
And it works.
It works, yeah. We've got a wall of fame, which I put together the other day, which is just, it's hard to finish scrolling.
Yeah. So I have a lot of your clients in my community, or people who are keen to become your clients because they've seen the masterclasses that you've done within the HoLT. And that's really why I invited you on here. I know we're friends outside of this, but the fact that your masterclasses within the HoLT was so well received, and people said that it really worked and gave them a new perspective on things. But let's dispel a myth, because it's not easy working with you. The processes that you put in place for people, it's graft, right? That they really have to commit to the process to get the results that your successful clients have.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot out there in terms of business advice and oversimplification of processes, and you can do these 3-step processes and this is going to be the results. People like to sell a dream, but the reality is it's hard work. And you are one of the hardest working business owners I've known over the, how long have we known each other? 3 or 4 years now?
It's can't be 4.
And how long's content to clients been going?
3rd of Jan 22. So
3 years.
Maybe 3.5, probably, yeah, about 3 years.
And you've had incredible growth, but you have worked your absolute arse off to get there. What would you say to, like, did you expect it when you left your business, the job that you had? Did you expect it to be as hard as it has been?
I don't think it's, I've just made it harder by trying to do too much at once.
Right.
So is it hard work? Yes. Anyone that sells any sort of business program from the ground up, like end to end, that tells you it's going to be easy is lying. Like, the program's obviously hard, not because the program's hard, because business is fucking hard. Like, there's a difference there. Did I expect to work as hard? I love it. Yeah. Like, I'm already in my head, like, what time am I going to be finished doing this podcast so I can go back and finish those YouTube scripts so I'm on time for tomorrow? Because I just fucking love it.
Hate to
it's a massive inconvenience being here, but I love it. So it's not been easy, but I don't think it's been hard. Like, it's not hard, it's just work.
And that's a big difference, isn't it? Because people say that, you know, the cliche, you never work a day in your life if you love your job, right? I mean, we all have days where we don't love all of it. There's all aspects of business that we're not so pleased about. And at the beginning, like, what were the bits at the beginning that you really didn't like doing? Because there's got to be some, like, I'm terrible at accounts. So the first thing I did was hire an accountant.
Yeah, I never did that. I outsource as fast as I possibly can so I can continue doing what I really like doing, which is building stuff, delivering to clients, and talking. Basically, talking about business and marketing. That's what I like doing. So I try, and accounts is sorted. Day-to-day check-ins with clients, that's outsourced. Writing my emails, most of it outsourced, or certainly repurposed and then outsourced. So there are little things. I mean, even the technical stuff like hopping into Zapier and setting up automations, I enjoy doing that. I spent a whole day yesterday building one lesson, one masterclass on engagement. And I was just buzzing off it. Like, I just loved it.
I took too long to start outsourcing out of fear. I was nervous.
It is scary, isn't it?
It is scary, but you did it so quickly. You seem like you've done it quite confidently. Was that true, or were you overcoming a fear of doing it? You were just like, well, I'm not going to grow as quickly as I want to if I don't do this, so I'm going to suck up the fear.
Well, it's something I speak about to our clients as early on as I can. As soon as revenue permits, you will have identified the tasks that either need doing but not by you, or you don't like doing. And, if you look at the CEO of a massive company, they're not going to be fanning around scheduling the social media posts or doing the accounts or invoicing or something like that. And you need to kind of approach it with that mindset. So I identified quite quickly, like, these boxes need ticking, but they don't need ticking by me. So therefore, I'm going to get someone who can do some of what I would call the grunt work. And it was just that. It was a Filipino VA who I outsourced to first. And she was great. She was more expensive than most Filipino VAs. And I think that outsourcing and paying money to someone on the other side of the world who doesn't have the same first language as you is a little bit scary. But what I always advise clients do is just like focus on the lowest level responsibility tasks first. So let's say they were going to manage your LinkedIn. You would just give them a list of people and say, connect with 20 people a day off this list.
Yeah.
You don't just chuck them straight into the DMs and comments and have them pretending to be you.
Yeah.
You like work your way up to that. Same with anything. If you want them to design graphics, you don't give them a whole like program to design. You go do a few single images first or whatever,
build up that
and
trust.
Just build it up. Yeah, and that is, I think, how I've worked, because I am people will describe me still as a control freak, micromanage maybe. I'm a lot better than I was.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was definitely some fear, but I overcame it by just.
Did you find that made more work for you in the beginning though? Because it does, doesn't it? You get the idea.
J-curve where you've got like the investment and effort before you see the returns.
The same when you hire a member of staff, right? If you hire an employee, there's a period you're going to have to train them.
Yeah.
And that can feel counterintuitive. And then you go through that demotivation because you're like, I've hired someone, so they should be making my life easier, but actually they're making my life harder in the beginning. And sometimes it's hard to push through and you just want to give up. Like, no, they're not getting it. Probably because we're not explaining it properly.
Yeah.
And then I'm having to actually feed them work because they're not familiar enough to work off their own initiative yet. I found though, because I've hired freelancers who are really, really good at what they do, and I know that they're better than I am, that's helped me be more confident in it. So Alex Thompson, who does my email marketing, he's so much better at it than I am. So he's done a launch for me. Then I've worked in collaboration with him to do further launches, and then I just handed it over and I said, I want to be hands off now. And basically we will have a meeting once a month for an hour to plan what's happening next, and then I don't touch it. And the first time I see the emails is when they drop into my inbox.
Same with me and Kate Skellin.
And I love it.
I don't even approve them.
No, I don't.
Because it's not.
Although I do regret that if occasional error goes out.
Yeah, Katie's messed up a couple of times, but she knows what she's done.
Yeah.
But you're completely right about the freelancer mentality, right? You pay more for it.
Yeah.
But if you get the right fit, which usually you do because you can choose and be a lot more selective based on a portfolio or an existing business or whatever, you're going to reap the rewards.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
My first hire, my first outsourcing was to Luke Manton, my VA. And
still with you, right?
Yeah, he's still with me. We had a break for a while where I had an employed PA, and that didn't really work out. She was fine. Do you know, I wouldn't put anything on her, but I would, because she was remote, I'd forget she exists and be like, oh no, I need to like actually give her stuff to do.
I'm a bit like that with my VA. She like bollocks me.
Yeah, whereas
you're not
Luke,
giving me enough work. Like, shit,
Luke has a whole list of things that he can do if I'm not sending him stuff. But I mean, I'm so much busier than I was at the beginning that he does all like my travel arrangements and my personal life. Like he organizes my personal life, reminds me that there's birthdays coming up and I need to get gifts, and if I need to book a hotel or a train ticket.
Did that yesterday. She sent me a message saying Ivy has got football and she's going to be late for her next appointment if you don't get there on time on Thursday the 31st or whatever.
That's what
I'm just
I
like,
need. Luke's like my business mum.
Yeah, it's so good.
Even like my bin schedule, is put into my Google Calendar, so I know which bin to go out each week, because I won't forget. And even
it's
then,
not, as a business owner, though, right? You need to retain certain information. You do not need to retain that.
But you know what? I think that's partly why I have the time and the mental capacity to keep building and innovating with what I'm doing, is because there are, and don't get me wrong, my mental load is still enormous. I'm a solo parent, right? But because the unnecessary stuff is minimized and it's just all in Google, and Google sent it to my Alexa, who shouts at me across the house, whatever room I'm in, I get a reminder from her. And that helps me to have the space in my brain to be able to create and innovate and market and have ideas that I need to have. So one of the things that I really was interested in talking to you about is, because you've grown really fast and you've traveled a lot and you've spent a lot of money on amazing coaching packages that you say you're very honest with your feedback on the investments, whether they were worth it, what you've learned, you know, what you got out of them. But all of that's been made possible by the fact you've got Amy at home, your amazing wife. Mm-hmm. So you've got Amy, you've got a stepson, Edward, and your daughter, Ivy, who's 9. She's the same as Dex, isn't she? Yeah. And there's a lot of people, and I am guilty of this. I have, at times, watching how much content you're putting out and how much success you're having, I've gone, God, Chris has done this fast. I could have done this as fast as Chris. And I'm not really guilty of comparisonitis very often, but I did look at you and I was like, damn, he's doing really, really well. He's so dedicated. He's so structured. And then I had to check myself, because I'm a solo parent.
Compare the two.
Exactly right. I'm a solo parent. I've done this all while juggling, looking after a home and a child and pets and everything full time. And you've got Amy at home, who is probably, without a doubt, your biggest supporter, right?
She's the reason for all of this. If it wasn't for her, I'd probably still be in that call center. She's pushed me or told me to do things that I was fearful of doing. Quitting the job was one. Quitting my job before that to go to the marketing agency was the other one. She was like, you just need to do it. Like, what are you worried about? Like, you always end up working it out. And then I have to check myself and go, shit, yeah, every time I've wanted to do something big, I thought I would fail. When I've actually done it, I've never failed. So just take it head on. So
she's almost like the anti-imposter on your shoulder.
She's she's my spine, basically. My heart and my spine. Yeah, everything.
And I think that's an important message for people. Now, not everyone with a partner has a supportive partner, right? That, unfortunately, that's not the truth for a lot of people. Probably why I choose to stay on my own is because I think if I don't get someone like Amy, I don't want anyone. Like, it's not Amy, don't worry, I'm not going to steal your wife. Well, actually.
You can have her, like...
Is that why you keep us apart?
Occasionally. Yeah, you've never met, have you?
I've never met her, no.
Let's keep it like that. Just in case. She likes tattoos, you see.
Does she?
So, yeah.
Oh, there you go. I'm in with a chance. But I think people underestimate the importance of having a partner that makes it possible, or that, at the very least, encourages and supports you and cheerleads you. Where do you think you'd be now if she wasn't such a supportive person?
There's two sides to support, isn't there? There's like the mental and the emotional, and then there's the operational, physical, day-to-day we were talking about before, where Amy takes the lion's share of everything in terms of, I mean, she's still got what I would call between a full and a part-time job.
Yeah.
So it's not quite full-time. There's flexibility. She works from home. So where would I be without that? Well, if I still had Ivy, I imagine I'd have a week of like chaos with Ivy running around, which would like resemble your life. And then I'd be a week solo parenting if Ivy was with Amy. So, but going back, I would still be in that call center. I'd still be in there, like unfiltered like potential, making 200 calls a day, hating my boss, hating my life, getting pissed every weekend, living for the weekend, hating life on Monday. And that was a constant cycle for like 5 years. That maybe a bit less.
And I met you when you were working at an agency, and you were sort of on that.
That was the good job.
You just started out like doing side stuff, hadn't you, at that point?
Yeah, I think we had a pissed Instagram live or something.
Did we?
I think so.
It doesn't sound like us.
Not me. I meant you. I was sober.
So in terms of what you've done over the last 3 years with content to clients, What did content to clients look like when you started? Like, where did the idea come from? Because you were an expert in sales, right? Sales and marketing was your thing.
Sales first, then I learned how important marketing was, which I believe is much more important than sales in the grand scheme of things. Mm-hmm. And then, I was working at this marketing agency. I remember, actually, I was thinking about it on the train here. Like, what was the point? Like, what was the turning point when things did start to actually change? It was very early on in COVID, mm-hmm. where I hadn't been furloughed, and I still had to ring people and do outreach for the agency at home, when I was like, God, I need something to do. So I started I started reading books, and one of them was Daniel Priestley's. There was a Ryan Holiday book in there, much more mindset focused. And I was like, fuck this. I need to do something different now. I don't know what it is. I'm just going to try. And I shaved my hair, completely shaved my hair off, which I've been known to do because I was drinking like a bottle of rum a night at the start of lockdown, like putting on a load of weight, eating takeaways. But I was like, something's got to change. And then Amy came out, and I had Edward's into the garden because it was really sunny at the start of lockdown, wasn't it? And I had Edward's gaming chair, which is like a nice shaped beanbag. And we've got a picture of it, which I need to find. I had my top off, I had shades on, and I had this skinhead, and I was reading a book. And Amy came out like, what are you doing? I'm like, reading. She's like, you don't read. And I was like, you can't read, motherfucker. And I was like, I'm reading. And she's like, why? And I remember specifically, and she can remember it as well, I like looked at her and I was like, I'm reinventing myself as a joke, but I was also deadly serious. And she just laughed, I think, and walked off or whatever. And that was the point. I can remember, like, it would have been a Ryan Holiday or a Daniel Priestley book, Key Person of Influence. And it all started from there. And I just started fueling my brain with Audible and self-development, what I would call fluff and bullshit now, but you do actually need an element of it in your life, and much more action than theory. And that's what it sort of looked like. And then I put out some Instagram content. It was all about B2B sales. It was quite bland, quite boring. And then someone reached out to me and said, can I pay you to help me with this? And I was like, what? And I was like, yeah, 80 quid. I just got 80 quid off this guy, had a call with him and helped him look at his sales process.
But that's all you need, right? That first person to take a chance on you.
That feeling's built. I've sold stuff for multiple 5 figures now for the business. That was nothing compared to that first couple. That one was just like...
I remember the same thing, because when I first decided I was going to start transcribing, like all the way back in 2011, and I'd been in Thailand, and I decided I was going to do typing to earn some extra money to pay for more travel because I was skint. And I put an ad on Gumtree, and this property developer that used to do these scammy guaranteed rent schemes messaged me and wanted me to type up some of his calls that he'd done, and then they were going to turn them into training manuals. And I typed loads of them, and it was utter bullshit. Like, it was...
What, lies or just...
It was just fooling idiots, basically. Right. It's selling hope and fake... It sounded good, but I was smart enough to see through the lines. I was like, you're taking desperate people and giving them what seems too good to be true, and they're eating it up. And as it turned out, he got arrested and imprisoned for stabbing his cousin who was having an affair with his wife. And I only found that out because he was overdue paying me. And I Googled his name to try and find out details to contact him.
Look, you didn't go around, eh?
Yeah. I was like, wow.
Do that to his family.
Yeah, I know, right? So
how's his life now?
Well, I assume he's still in prison. I don't know. I've never Googled it. Maybe I should.
Maybe you could transcribe his prison call.
It was but it was that one person,
that bit of proof.
Someone's going to take a chance on me, and it didn't go well, and I never got my invoice paid, but I did end up getting more clients off the back of that, and it gave me the confidence to try to go, there's something in this, someone's going to take a chance on me, let's keep going and see where this goes. And that obviously then led me to LinkedIn, and we've crossed paths. You were very much on Instagram when we first met, and I kind of bullied you into starting using LinkedIn. I remember having the conversations, and you were like, oh, LinkedIn's dry, LinkedIn's boring, it's not the place for me. I was like, you've got so much content, and you're so good at content on Instagram. I have a
big mental block around LinkedIn, because I've been on LinkedIn for years, just using the sales nav side of things, and I would never really post content. Even when I went into that agency role, right, and I was like, we need to use LinkedIn. But other people in previous jobs have been saying things like, oh, you need to, if your headshot should have the company logo in the background. And I remember going, I'm not doing that. But then I got to the agency and I didn't have to watch what I said on LinkedIn. Like, it was complete free reign at this agency. My best mate was the director. He's just like I am, if not more brutal, to be fair. And I could go on and say what I want, but I still just felt this. I don't know if it was a colleague block, a potential client, existing client block, something mentally just stopping me from doing it. And then, after we spoke, and then I'd seen a few other people on LinkedIn who said, do it, I started up a page. This is why I got blocked from LinkedIn 6 months ago.
You had 2 personal pages?
No. I set up a page as Dave Smith or something like that, so I could go on and block everyone who I was working with, like colleagues at my role at the time. So I went on as Dave, Big Dave. I think I had an emoji for my picture. Blocked them all. And then I changed it over, which was, I think, was April 22. It was only 2 months before I left my job. And then I changed to Chris James and started building out the profile properly and stuff. I went and blocked like clients from the agency. I blocked everyone who worked there, potential clients. They're still all blocked now, to be fair, because I've just never gone back and unblocked them. But that was obviously fear of losing job and fear of judgment as well. It wasn't just like, I was definitely scared of what they would think, because I had some good mates there. And then, Insta slowly is phased out. I'll bring it back at some point. LinkedIn is by far LinkedIn, YouTube, email, but LinkedIn at the top. It's not my favorite, but it's the one.
There's definitely elements of LinkedIn that can be really hard. You have to kind of detach yourself. And I think, and I had the same block when I started using LinkedIn. I was like, oh my God, these are all people that I went to school with and people that I used to work with. They're going to think I'm proper weird. And I got loads of messages from people saying, oh, all I see is your LinkedIn content. You're posting all the time. And I was thinking, but hold on a minute, you've only got 200 connections.
Yeah,
so if only
only me.
Exactly. So if only 1%, which is about average, 1 to 2% of people that have a LinkedIn profile are actually creating content.
Is that low? Yeah,
it's really, really low of the over 1 billion users. Right. I'm like, so if you're connected to 200 people and only 1% are creating content, that's me and one other person. So of course your newsfeed is full of my content. I'm not posting loads, it's once a day. But that you're just seeing my entire week's worth of content on one scroll.
Yeah, back to back.
Yeah, so of course it's annoying, and fair enough, disconnect, block me, that's fine. But I think you feel like they're judging you for being obsessed with it. And it's like, well, I'm not obsessed, like I'm doing one post a day.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be.
I think people view it as like an ego thing, right? They're like, oh, they're on there talking about themselves. They must have an ego. But I genuinely feel like I had much more of an ego when I didn't post compared to when I do now a lot daily.
Yeah, I find like I learn a lot of stuff from creating content as well, from the conversations you have in the comment sections. But it's that old thing, isn't it? People saying, oh, you're just after attention. Yes, that's what marketing is. If you don't want attention, like they call it paying attention for a reason. Right, you're paying attention. You have to spend it. I need it to be able to sell my business. If I don't market myself, which asking for attention on the internet is marketing myself, that's literally the definition. If I don't do that, I'm not paying my mortgage. I can't pay to feed my darling Bronson and my son's ridiculous Satsuma habit that he eats about 8 of those a day.
Satsuma habit.
Satsumas. At the moment, it's Satsumas.
I should tell you this after, but I'll say it now. Ivy's been invited to Manchester City's training ground.
Has she?
How weird is that?
Oh my God. We're both going to we'll be there at the same time then. Yeah, there'll be a training at the same time, I expect. So, both future football stars. That's exciting. Yeah, don't cut that bit out. We can brag about our kids.
Yeah.
They're really nice as well there. I need to quickly interrupt our conversation to tell you about our brilliant sponsors. Running your own business takes courage, dedication, and hard work. That's why over 100,000 small businesses and freelancers count on Kudos to protect what matters most. Kudos understands that your business is more than just your work. It's your passion, your livelihood, and your future. Their policies and award-winning service are designed to give you complete peace of mind so you can focus on what you do best, running your business. Head to kudoscontractor.com to learn more and use code LEA10 at checkout to get 10% off your first policy, subject to eligibility. So let's go back to talking about business. Give us a kind of, a summary of the
Yeah, I didn't really
the
go
last
into
3
it.
years? Like, how have things grown? What are the like key points that have changed?
The main thing was landing the first couple of clients, and then the switch from 80 quid for one session to, I think, someone saying you need to have a package and sell a lot more. So I sold 10, I think, for $2,500, and the lady paid on the call. And she was like, "Shall I pay now?" And I was like, "Yes." Shit. Like, PayPal. And then I just
Had you even built the package at that point?
No, it was just 10 sessions.
Right. Okay.
And that was a real turning point, not only from the financial, like 10x whatever point of view, but also from the fact, like, when I had another one-to-one client, I was like, I'm saying the same stuff here. And I was like, I don't want a third and a fourth. I do, but I don't want to. So I was like, I started building out just in a Notion dashboard some form of structure and course, and then I would lead the call based on the problems that have been created on the last call. I was like, right, there's a bit of a journey here, especially when I'm repeating it to 2 and then it turned into 3. And I think I only ever had 3 one-to-one clients before I was like, this needs to be something. Might have been 4, 3 or 4 before I was like, this needs to be something slightly different. And then I joined a couple of like cohort based programs about Instagram at that point, and I just saw how they were structured. And there was a day when I bought 2 in one day, shitting myself because one of them was $4,000, and it was a lot of money at that point. Like, it was pretty much, I guess, take home from a wage after tax, maybe there or thereabouts. So the guy let me split the payments. And it was pretty shit. It was all right. Like, it was very dull. There wasn't much sense of community, which I definitely want to speak to you about community as well. So I read one of your posts yesterday.
On the pod or later?
Both. No, I went on the pod. But yeah, I went into this guy's community and I was like, right, this is all the stuff he's doing well. This is all the stuff he's doing wrong. Let's just maximize both. Yeah. And yeah, launched it originally as a standalone course because I tried to be clever. Didn't have anywhere near as many followers or as much traffic as I needed to do that. So I sold like 2 copies, refunded 1, and then brought the second person into content to clients. So she was like the official first member. And it launched with 4 members inside. It was me, nervous as fuck, conducting a group call when I'd never done a group call and probably didn't really know what I was talking about that much when it came to like certain aspects of Instagram and organic marketing. So it was a bit of winging it, self-discovery and stuff. And there were 3 lessons in this course, which were masterclasses. I presented live on the Zoom calls and just uploaded. And again, counterintuitive, because most people would do what I did originally. Like, I'll go and build the course. I'll build the landing pages, build the emails, then we'll launch. Shit, no one's bought it.
See, I did the opposite. So someone said to me, if you are constantly repeating yourself and answering the same questions, make it into a course. And of course, I was doing one-to-one LinkedIn training. So I was repeating myself a lot. So I went, firstly, my rates now are so much higher. Not everyone can afford it, but there's lots of people that need my help that would benefit from my advice, but they can't afford to pay my rates.
Do the one-to-one.
Yeah, because obviously I was like exhausted and there was no way I could keep going the rate I was going. So it was like, right, increase the prices, reduce how many clients I need to bring in, and improve the package in line with the price increase. But I then created a digital course, but it took me 7 months to create my digital course because I'm not like you. And I wrote it all and I knew exactly what I was going to do, but I had this weird block about doing the videos, and it took me, and it was only the videos that took me time. Everything was done. It was ready. The graphics were done, everything. I just couldn't bring myself to record the videos. But in that time, I built such a waiting list for this course that I'd been talking about that by the time I sold it, and it was entirely my fault. But as it turned out, it worked out quite well because I sold it and I had a huge waiting list of people wanting it. And then I relaunched a second version of it the year before. And it did very well again. And I think it's not for sale anymore. Taken it off sale because I don't do the LinkedIn training anymore. But I did the opposite and it did work, but I should have done it sooner. I should have gone, all these one-to-ones are taking up so much of my time. I'm repeating myself so much, make it into videos. And you do that, you put it all on YouTube. So where did it go next? You had these 4 people in your group and you had your one person that you brought in.
We got a few more clients in slowly. And then it was Vicky coming on board, Vicky Hanley. So I met her. We DM'd, she came to a masterclass, then she hopped on a sales call, and I just put the price up, I think, to $2,500 But because we already had a bit of a relationship and we liked each other a little bit, I was like, look, you'll be the last person I'll sell this to at 2K. And she's like, I'm in. I was like, okay, cool. And I really liked her. And then she went from 900 quid to a 5K month because she committed to the process. Massive overthinker, lacking in confidence.
I've watched her grow as well.
She is completely different just from trusting the process.
And she's so, like, the content she creates on LinkedIn, it stands out.
It does, yeah.
She's funny. She's thoughtful. She's incredibly consistent. Her and Katie, both of them. I was aware of them years ago, like when they first sort of started working with you, because the algorithm tends to show us lots of the same people that we engage with. And I was like, oh, I like these two. They're both funny. And I think
so good.
I think before you were working with them, I was seeing them on my feed, and you just watched the confidence grow of you as a team and of them individually as well, and watching their businesses absolutely flourish. Yeah. Which is, it's lovely to see. So what happened next? So you've now got an all-female team.
All-female team. No, I've got a...
was there a reason for that? Because you have gravitated to working more with women on your team. Is there a difference that you've noticed between men and women, and why you find it easy? Or do you just like being bossed around by women?
I do get bossed around. Fucking hell, they rip me to shreds. But I'm here for stuff like that. Like, I've got quite a dark sense of humour, so anything goes. But I think the main reason it's not been intentional. Like, I just hire based on liking people and skill level, and the liking people bit has to come first.
Same.
And I feel, and this is very general, and I may regret it or ask you to cut it out. Probably not. There's less ego and there's a higher work ethic with women, particularly mums.
I would agree. I'm not saying that other people don't work hard, but there's a sense of urgency and efficiency that you have to have as a mum, because you are much more limited with the time you have available to get things done.
Mums are fucking superheroes, like, for the most part.
Yeah.
They are.
There's exceptions to everyone.
Yeah, for sure. So it's very, like, sweeping statement, but the women that come into our program as well, like, there are single mums in there, like, I won't name names, but someone messaged me yesterday. She did a 30 grand month.
Wow, that's life-changing.
Already this month, and I don't know what date it is. I never know what date it is.
There's
like
something
the 20th.
that happens when you become a mum. Certainly for me, the motivation, the priorities, everything just changes, because it's not just about me surviving and thriving anymore. Like, there's another human being that I'm responsible for, and my success literally determines their future. And it just adds a whole nother dimension of motivation into you. You
can't beat that urgency piece, though, because I think most people perform better when they have a deadline in front of them, or a limited time, or constraints, whatever. And again, that's something I say to our clients, like, just put some constraints in, even if they're self-imposed. You're trying to get out in video and do your course. I'm just like, I want to see the first lesson by Monday, and I'll help you with this.
So those companies that don't prioritize hiring working mums, they're like, no, her priorities will be compromised. It actually flies in the face of all of that.
Motivation's higher than ever.
They might have more sick days because their kids are off sick, but if they can work from home, that they'll be doing it with their sick baby on their lap, or late at night to make up the hours. It's mad. And I think in my experience with the people that I've worked with, I definitely would say that the people with the kids, particularly mums, have shown more grit and determination and motivation.
Because that's what business needs.
Yeah. And it is, isn't it? So, okay, you wanted to, because we don't want this to go on for 2 hours.
It will, it will.
What did you want to talk about?
Constraints, I think.
Because you run a community, right? But your community wasn't necessarily intentional at the beginning, was it? You just had people that went through the course.
We put everyone in a Slack group because I knew it would be efficient. And systemizable and automatable. And I think you cultivate. I've been in so many communities. I don't know if I've ever been in a really good one.
You've never been in mine, though.
I've not. I will one day, but I just know I won't be in it. I just wouldn't be in it, but I will.
But
I will join.
You've not been in it, so you can't see how great it is.
But I have never been in a community where, let's say, the head of it was actually themselves and would level with potential clients. And therefore, when you don't get that coming down from the top, it kind of, you can never connect underneath it as well, I imagine, as a member. So that's one thing that I imagine you do very well, is just like, I'm just myself. I'll take the piss out of myself. I'll take the piss out of you. I'll call it straight. I'll call you out on your bullshit, and I'll introduce you to people, and we'll try and make it as fun as we can.
Yeah, I did.
That's why I think the community just evolved, because it wasn't like trying to be engineered.
Yeah.
It was no false engagement or like trying to get people to do things.
It doesn't feel like I am the founder of the
But
whole.
you remember as well.
But I am a member by choice, because I want to be in there. And there's a lot of communities out there where the person who starts the community is just not there. And they sort of leave members to their own devices until it's time for a call, so they're there at bare minimum that they think they can get away with. Whereas I actually genuinely enjoy being in the community.
You're in there every day, right?
Multiple times a day.
Yes.
I'm there answering questions, sending voice notes in response to advice and questions that people ask, tagging people. When someone says, oh, do you know anyone who does that? I tag people that are relevant. I'm responding to DMs in there. I'm scheduling events and things in the WhatsApp.
That's where it's got to come from. It's like just a position of actually caring and giving a shit.
I created the community that I needed and wanted, so that I could use it. I didn't create it to make loads of extra money. I was like, I need people around me. I need education myself. And I've got all these experts that will present masterclasses that I can learn from, other people can learn from, and we're all on this journey together. And I don't feel like I'm way ahead of everybody else. Yeah. I'm just a facilitator and someone who's there to encourage and kind of glue things together. I know it can't always be like that, and I will have to eventually spend less time in there, but not at the moment. I love it. So do you find that in content to clients as well? People hang around? Because I've got people that are in the HoLT that are still involved in C2C.
Yeah, we have between a 60 and a 70% renewal rate. So our program's 6 months long. Mm-hmm. More than half of the people want to stay. And I think they come for the info, they come for the flashy results, they experience the mindset shifts and the start of systemization, potentially the start of really scale or starting to scale. We never claim to scale businesses, but certainly sustain, systemize. And then they stay for the people and because it's enjoyable.
Let me take you back to that point where you were handing your notice in at the agency, because I know you loved that job, so it wasn't like, or maybe you weren't so enamored of it by the end because you were excited by
motivation drifted. But I was working with my friends. I basically dictated my whole day, work from home whenever I want, could go and get pissed whenever I wanted with clients or with team or with the MDs,
and it was a nice salary that you could rely on. So it was scary. What would be the advice that version of Chris needed that would have made the last 3 years maybe less mistakes, or it would have gone a little bit smoother? Because there's people out there that are hopefully listening to us who are thinking, I'm in a job and I've got this idea for a business and I'm a little bit scared, and and the job pays well, it's paying my mortgage, it's looking after my family. What would have helped you to avoid maybe some of the trips in the road that you've had?
Well, I can give a few positives and stuff, but I think it's more important to go start with a big disclaimer, this shit isn't for everyone.
Yeah.
This is very, very hard. And I'm sure you'd agree. And you have got to have a certain level of resilience and grit, as you mentioned. But if you think you've had that, or you've got that, or been exposed to situations like this before, then absolutely do it, but make sure you've got the financial runway. That's the disclaimer. You need to be able to cover your arse for a bit, because you will have rocky months for the first 6, 12, 36. I don't know.
Yeah, some people are even beyond that. We've had people on the podcast that have done incredibly well in their first year or two, and then they've gone, holy shit, everything's fallen apart. Something like COVID happens, or there's a bad year in recruitment and the recruitment industry is decimated, that you just can't plan for the future. So having that's the first, I'm always the negative frame first, which I would call realism rather than pessimism, but then the optimism. And the optimism is, it's amazing. This is my job. I'm sat here with you. We've had a laugh out there. We've had a brew. We were going to go and get pissed afterwards, but now neither of us are drinking. So maybe it's not that fun. You might sway me if you were to go on. But no, this is great. This is amazing. I'm going to go back and work on build something, which is what I love doing. So it's really good, but there's the painful bit, the dip in the J curve that we kind of talked about.
And the advice I think that you need there is, well, if I was saying it to me, it would be like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, what, you go and get another job, but you've already got a job.
And that's true, right? Because so many people are like, I'm going to give up this job and have a go at my business. But if it all fails, it's not the end of the world. The skills that you have for the job that you're in now, you still have. And if you try running a business, you're going to have a whole load of new skills.
I don't think there's anything that grows you as a person more than trying to run a business. You grow.
I don't know, traveling as well.
I've never travelled. I've travelled here. That's like my summer holiday. That and Atomicon. But yeah, I think you learn so many life skills when you're building a business that you will become more valuable if you had to go back to employment anyway. Plus, if you're trying to go down the personal brand route, you're just going to look more attractive to potential employers.
Confidence goes up, resourcefulness goes up.
Yeah. Great, and like resilience, to throw those words in again.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Someone said to me, they were like, it's more of a risk being employed for you.
Yeah, because what if it's all taken away?
You can be made redundant. We did have to make some people redundant after COVID. Obviously, they're not going to get rid of sales.
We talked to loads of people in season 1 that was literally what happened. COVID happened, redundancies.
Steve Ware
and they
was one, wasn't he? From
yeah,
IBM,
Steve Ware.
Yeah.
Michelle Hartley wasn't made redundant, but COVID made her situation a lot more unpalatable. Kate Hughes again. So there was a lot of people that had that shove that they needed to take that risk to go out on their own. Obviously, hopefully, we're not going to go through a COVID lockdown ever again or anything remotely similar in our lifetimes. But it shouldn't take a global disaster to give you the nudge that you need to take that risk. And ultimately, and how I always think about it is, what if I don't take that risk? I'm going to stay in the same job for God knows how many years. I'm never really going to even know what my potential might be because
that's scary.
Can't.
It's really scary. You know, I've got to say as well, mine wasn't at like a fully 100% conscious, active, whatever the word is, choice to leave. I was pushed. I was nudged because my brother-in-law was killed, which happened in the May. When I was already started C2C, it had already been running for 5 months, but that was obviously completely unexpected, rocked the family. And the night it happened, I just went and got leathered at home after I've been at my sister's all night, got home late, just got absolutely hammered. And that was I remember thinking like, fucking life is crazy. Like, this is fucking mad. So I was like, I need to do exactly, if he, like, healthy guy, just on his way to work, if that can happen that fast, I was like, I just need to live it how I want to live it.
Stop putting things off and just go for it now.
And like as soon as I went back to work the very next week, I think I had a couple of weeks off, obviously, and then I just started planting seeds. And I was my first official C2C first ever day was 1st of July.
It's funny because that's and this is something I was talking to our guest James about in before we were on the podcast. Now, I'm not saying I was lucky. I lost my dad when I was 10. That's not lucky, but it gave me a perspective on life and how preciously short it is because he was only 41. That's only a year and a half older than I am now. And I always had in my head, like, what if I don't make it past that age? I need to have done all of the things that I want to have done by that age. You know, I've had a kid, I've been in love, I've traveled the world, I've started a business, I've helped loads of people. And my dad died and there was 300 flipping people like at his funeral, and I went, he was a window cleaner, he earned no money, but he was a happy, smiley, friendly person. I want to be able to make an impact, and if I can get half as many people that will miss me when I'm gone, I've done good. But having that perspective, that shock of suddenly realizing that life is super short, makes the risks more worth taking because you don't feel like, you know, people who just all they do is save for their retirement. Well, who says you're going to live that long? Like, well, what if you spend 20 years of your working life working for somebody else, filling your pension, and then you're hit by a car when you're 40?
That's why you got to work in sprints, I think. It's like, I like to go like really head on and like I work 12 hours. I love it. I find it very hard to come away from it. But when I do, I can. And
do you actually switch off?
Relax. Yeah, Christmas was amazing.
Yeah.
So good. I found it so hard to get back into it though. I slept like crazy hours, 12 hours, and it's like
I was doing, and it's the first year that I've actually genuinely switched off over Christmas. I think for about 2.5 weeks, I was still obviously going into the community, but we didn't do any masterclasses or anything in the community. It was just the minimum stuff. We front loaded and we did loads on the run up to make sure that people didn't feel shortchanged if we stopped over Christmas. But we wanted everyone to be encouraged to have a rest or go through the library of other things that they had to catch up on.
Christmas morning, the new masterclass
out. Abandon the roast potatoes. Yeah. You need to learn this. But yeah, it was I think the first year in 5 years in business, in this area of business for me, that I've actually gone, I'm taking time off and I'm going to not think about work too much and properly switched off.
And that's the thing as well, like you end up creating these problems that like, oh God, if I have the time off, I'm really going to struggle, when actually, you come back and like, either it's sorted itself out, someone else has sorted it, or it didn't fucking matter in the first place.
Yeah. There was me thinking, I need to reply to emails. They're going to be urgent. I'm thinking, hold on a minute, this person's off for Christmas as well.
Yeah.
Like, why am I
Christmas
rushing?
Is like, quite universal.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It was a very long journey all the way from Macclesfield.
Well, like I say, it's a summer holiday. No, it was 20 minutes on the train.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the effort.
You're welcome.
Been great
Thank
chatting
you for
to you.
having me.
Supporting small business owners is my biggest passion, and that's what my membership community, the HoLT, is all about. Inside the HoLT are more than 150 masterclasses from experts in every business skill you could ever want, and we add more every single month. There are also sales clinics, tech clinics, wellbeing support and advice, and discounts on a huge range of software and services. But it's so much more than just trainings and resources. Everyone inside the HoLT shares their years of knowledge and experience generously, with kindness and without judgment. They're super active, the chat channels are buzzing, and it's like having 600 business cheerleaders in your pocket, willing you to succeed and helping you wherever they can. And we offer all of this and much more at an extremely low price, because we know that budgets are tight when you're bootstrapping a business. The HoLT is a kind, inclusive and non-judgmental place where everyone knows that working together is the fastest way to succeed. And it makes it a whole lot more fun. We would love for you to join us. You can check out the full details on the-holt.com. Or if communities aren't really your vibe and you just want access to the hundreds of expert masterclass recordings with a combined value of more than £10,000, you can access the Vault right now for just £20 per month. The Vault is all the masterclasses with none of the chat or distractions, just pure value. Visit the-holt.com/vault to sign up and start binging your way through brilliant trainings from leading experts.